Hey, Harpslingers. Welcome back to the Harpslinger podcast, where almost each and every week we hang out with the greatest harmonica players in the business. Now, I say almost because the last few weeks I've been out of commission. I spent a week in New York, back to the New York stage, playing a week of shows in Our Sinatra, my favorite vocalist of all time, at Birdland Theater, which was really exciting. And on top of that, my wife and I have recently relocated to the great state of Florida. So, you know how stressful that can be. So it's been quite a journey, but we're back. I appreciate you sticking with us, and if you haven't already, go to the Harpslinger YouTube channel, where we have an incredible list of great artists that are all back cataloged there. Some of your favorite harmonica players are listed. Some great interviews. I think you're really going to like it, so make sure you check that out. All right. I'm excited today. I get excited this time every time I film the show. My next guest is a singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, artist, and actor. Perhaps best known for his hit song Sunshine, but among harmonica players, it's probably his classic song Shanty that makes us want to grab a harp and play along. Now, full disclosure, that song was one of the first tunes that completely grabbed me and made me want to sit down and learn it note for note, which I tried to do. He's got a brand new record out, and I'm thrilled to have him on the podcast today. Here he is, Jonathan Edwards. How you feeling, Jonathan? Good to have you.
I'm good, Jamie. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. It's a real honor and a privilege to have you on the show. You know, I met you once before. You may not remember this. It was a couple of years ago, before the pandemic, in Nashville. It was at the Harp Heaven event at City Winery, which is led by the great Tim Gonzalez. We met briefly, and I sort of had a starstruck moment because, you know, your song Shanty, as I mentioned in the intro, was a huge inspiration for me personally. And not just because of the harmonica. I mean, that was the thing that grabbed me right off the bat, but I just loved the sound of that recording, and I loved the spirit of it. And, you know, at that time I was living in New York, and I was sitting around the table in the mornings playing music with my buddies and smoking weed, which I think is probably what that song is about. So a little bit, right? It's got a little bit of that in there. Not much has changed, Jonathan, but you know, I'm just a big fan, and I'm so honored that you're here. So thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few things have changed. It's gotten a lot more, acceptable and from a legal point of view, and that's great to know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed I've been checking out your 420 shows on Fridays.
Good.
So, I mean, those that know what 420 means. So, you know, I love that you take a little time to unwind and you know, enjoy enjoy the herb a little bit, I suppose, before you record.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe after. Anyway, let's go back a little bit, and I'd love to talk about, you know, your beginnings and where you got started, what inspired you to play music. You know, I read somewhere that when you were in military school as a young lad, you bought a $29 guitar and sort of never looked back. Is that right?
That's pretty much the cliff notes on the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. What inspired you to pick up the guitar, first of all?
Well, a kid in the room next door to me in the dormitory or the barracks, whatever you want to call it, in military school, happened to have a guitar, and I wandered into his room, and wow, is that a guitar? You know, I had never seen one up close. Seriously.
Wow. Wow.
Uh, 15 years old, 14 years old, never seen a guitar. So I picked it up and had him show me a couple things, and I learned, a little bit of, may I?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
A little bit, he said, well, just try this. And I was hooked. I was hooked right from that moment on. And it became, a part of my soul ever since.
Right on, right on. You know, I spoke with a friend of mine, Chris Gantry, on the show a couple of months ago, and he also had a similar experience at military school. And I was trying to picture all of that with guys that are in an environment like that. I mean, was that frowned upon? I mean, and your father was actually in the FBI, so this must have been to his chagrin that you decided to sort of pursue a path of music.
It wasn't in his playbook, that's for sure. He didn't quite know how to relate. he wanted me to be an accountant and, a lawyer
Sure. Yeah.
and all of that. And I was all those things. And then I decided, no, I was not. I was never.
No, I am not. Yeah. You have to follow your muse, don't you?
Yes, you do.
Yeah. If you're going to be happy in this life, I think so.
That's right.
Yeah. So, this being the Harpslinger podcast, what I really want to dig into is, when did you decide to add the harmonica to your bag, and what inspired you to make that move?
Well, I couldn't find anybody really, really good to jam with.
Okay.
And I wanted to learn how to play the harmonica. And so I strapped on, we all, back in the day, you made a holder out of a coat hanger.
Wow.
And you hung it on your neck, and you started to listen to Dylan, who also had a harp rack, and Donovan.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they were playing in first position,
yes,
I was able to take the second position and learn how to play along with myself, jamming with myself, because I'd go to the stairwells in the dormitories and stuff in college.
Yeah.
Where the echo is so reinforcing and so beautiful.
Right.
And I would just jam there until the campus cops, decided I should go jam somewhere else.
Were you, playing? You mentioned first position, and that you immediately sort of jumped to second position. A lot of, I remember starting when I played harmonica. I didn't even know what a position was. I didn't realize there was positions to play. You must have had some blues influences then too, because you were playing, if you're going to jump into that blues scale and pursue that route of harmonica, who were you listening to then?
Oh man, I was listening to Paul Butterfield.
Okay. Yeah.
Was that other white gentleman that played harp in those days?
Yeah.
Musselwhite.
Charlie Musselwhite, sure.
Yeah. And of course, I went directly to country and started picking up on Charlie McCoy, who is still my favorite guy.
Yeah, he's the king, right? I actually met him the same night I met you. It was like a banner night for me.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Couldn't believe it. I know you probably then were playing Hohner harmonicas, because that's probably all that was available at that time. Are you still a Hohner guy? Are you playing other harps, or are you playing Hohners primarily?
I'm a Hohner guy. Yeah, that's pretty much what I go to. The special 20s.
Okay.
Especially attractive to my style of play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nice, and they feel easy to play.
Yep.
With the wood comb has a certain sound that I adore, but
for sure.
I like to play like I like to play fast country runs and stuff, and these are they slide around a lot better.
Yeah, they do. They leave less blood on the harmonica when you do it that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Well, you talked about making a rack out of a clothes hanger. I'm always intrigued by guys who play on the rack, because especially guys who play as well as you do are able to get not just that sort of chunky Dylan thing, which I also think is very important. Wouldn't slight that ever, but you're taking it to a different level, and I always felt like it was very difficult to do that on a rack. I've tried it a couple times. I never spent a lot of time because I don't play as much guitar as you do, so I'm not sort of forced into that sort of thing. But do you ever
hands-free operation? Yeah,
hands-free operation. Do you ever play? Do you ever put down the guitar or take off the rack and play with your hands?
Sure, pick up that harp mic, that you can hold with the harp, and turn up the amp till it hurts. And,
exactly. Right on. So when you're recording, do you ever do that, or do you always play with the rack on?
No, I mostly play without the rack in the studio, because you can overdub.
Yeah.
And that, but sometimes you can't. I feel like you can't really get the correct, authentic feeling with that you want on certain songs if you don't play them together, which I do as well. So
right. That's sort of what I was driving at. I was curious if that would affect the way that you come across live then too, because maybe it doesn't sound exactly the same with your hands as it would when you're playing in the rack. So that was always curious to me. If you want to be authentic in the studio, is what people are going to hear live.
right.
That's interesting. Um, so I'm a big I love songwriters. So I'd love to talk about your songwriting because you're a prolific songwriter. And I'm a fan of what you write. We're going to talk about your new record in just a few minutes, but let's just sort of focus, if you can, on your process of songwriting. How do you go about writing songs? Are you one of these guys who gets up in the morning and at 10 you're writing, or are you waiting around to be inspired? What's your thing?
Yeah, I do that. I do whenever it hits me, whenever a line or a phrase, is to me worthy of exploration. I try to sit down and gather the muse and my energy and my focus
Yeah.
and try to write it down before it flies away.
Right. Right.
But I'm somewhat of an insomniac, so I'm up all night typically. I
Okay.
wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and just I have a notebook always by my side. I
Yeah.
just start writing stuff, and some of the stuff turns into actual songs and has a structure and a certain cadence and rhythm to the words, and then that often just leads to creating the music around that cadence.
Right on. Right on. That makes sense. I feel like your lyrics, you really have something to say, and on this record, in this new record, I feel like you were really inspired to write about things that were important to you, and this happens to be the first record that you've released that is all original material. Is that right?
That is right. I've always loved other people's writing and other people's songs as much as my own, and very often there was a space on a record or two that would require a different feel or a um, different picture of lyric,
Mm-hmm.
and I would typically do other people's songs as well as my own, typically friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, and you've had a lot of, I mean, you've rubbed shoulders with so many great folks. I mean, you've not only been on tour with the Allman Brothers and B.B. King, but you've done a lot of recording with, oh my goodness, the name is escaping me, but I'm a big fan. She's beautiful, West Coast singer-songwriter, country Americana
Emmy
artist.
Lou.
Emmy Lou, forgive me, Emmy Lou. For
Yeah.
I'm under the gun here. That I might have to edit out.
You
Wow.
might have to edit that.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah. So I mean, you have done quite a bit of recording with her as well.
Mhm.
A recording deal came out of your work with Emmy Lou
That's
back in
right.
the day.
That's right.
Um, yeah, so I can see. I mean, you've surrounded yourself with wonderful songwriters. I can see why you would cut other people's songs.
Yeah.
Also, yeah.
I think I've covered at least 4 Jesse Winchester songs
Okay.
on record, and that's been a blast. I miss him badly, and consider him one of the great American poets that we ever had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think this record, "Great American Poet," is a great way to put this new record. "Right Where I Am," great title. I love, and that's the title track, of course, right? First tune on the record, and you start out with harmonica, which I was like, this is fantastic. There's quite a bit of harp on this record, actually. Really good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
What
but
was?
a funny little vignette that kind of puts that together with recording with Emmy Lou. We were really intensely recording those. I did 2 albums of my own and one with her in LA, in the Enactron truck that was all taking place in a 40-foot semi.
Wow.
And Brian said, "Well, who should we get on one?" He didn't know me. We got together kind of very quickly and without knowing each other real well. And he said, "Well, who should we get to play harp on this song?" I said, "You're joking, right?"
You're like, here, this guy. That's
So
wonderful.
we ended up with that. But yeah, recording with her was really a treat.
Yeah. Did you, by any chance, cut your harp in her bathroom? I spoke with Mickey Raphael, and he said he cuts all of his harmonica stuff like in the shower in her bathroom.
I think he has an intestinal problem. I'm not sure.
Could be. I don't know. I should have asked him.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Um, That's a great idea.
Yeah,
One I had heard, but I had forgotten that one. Thanks for queuing me up.
yeah, yeah. You want me to try that for your next record? So what was the the pandemic came around. We're all stuck at home. We're all immediately taken from being on the road, which is a big deal for guys like us that make our living touring, and that's our love, our passion. Uh, was being at home and sort of being secluded the precipitous for you to want to write this new record, or was it just a great opportunity because it was time and you had more time to write? What was maybe all of those?
Yeah, all of those things were things we all had to deal with. You know, so here we had to. I felt really lucky to have the opportunity to just be home
Mm-hmm.
and not have to be anywhere, and
Right.
not, just have tons of uninterrupted time to apply to our creativity. I do all kinds of things with that creativity urge, but writing songs was good because I wanted to get a record out. It had been a while, and
Yeah.
yeah, COVID was conducive to my songwriting for this project.
Yeah, there's so much going on socially, politically, and all kinds of things. I felt like those were inspirations for these songs. I mean, I could have been reading into the lyrics, but it felt to me like this was a song. This was an album for the times.
Yeah, yeah, I'm hopeful that's what it was, and hopeful that's what it is.
I think so. I feel like not enough artists. I mean, maybe I could be wrong. We're just. It feels like there's light at the end of the tunnel here. We're starting. People are starting to tour again. New records are going to start coming out. I'm really hopeful that we're going to see a very insightful, uh, records coming out like yours. And but I do want to say that I don't feel like that has been at the fore for a lot of artists to make any sort of social commentary. I mean, a lot has changed in the music business in that regard from when you started out to now. I mean, then it felt like it was sort of the job in a way for artists to comment on what was going on around them in the world.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, there was a lot more social consciousness than than there is now, but
Hmm.
but we are also so divided that you don't want to just by your some of your political views perhaps cutting your audience in half. you
Yeah. That's
know,
yeah.
left versus right, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's tough to. Back then, the issues were much more clear cut and simplified than they
Hmm.
are now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe so. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't there. I was born just after probably that era.
Oh,
I just missed it, but it felt. I mean, looking back at documentaries and stuff, especially like music documentaries where they talk a lot about this, it felt like we were pretty divided then too. You know?
yeah, we were, but not the musical community. The musical community wasn't. We were all pretty much on the same page. It seemed to me.
Yeah, right on. I, we could use a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
Um, I I loved Drop and Roll. Again, great harp right off the bat. you know, for obvious reasons, I loved it. But there's a line in there: "A badge and a gun can't buy you balls." I thought that was really great, man. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, you're a brave writer.
Well, I look. I'm a creature of the news. Unfortunately and unfortunately, I like to know what's going on our planet, but it can be a little disheartening as well. But that's a very stream of consciousness piece of writing that I did again in the middle of the night when no one's watching or listening.
Yeah,
And and my son-in-law, who's also a gifted songwriter and musician, incredible creative Frenchman that my daughter married. Uh, he took my lyrics and I just was kind of reading them to him. He says, "What you got in your book?" I said, and I came, I started reading my lyrics, and that was one of them. He started playing the guitar and came up with this groove and this lick, and we were off to the races.
that's fantastic. It's nice to have folks in your family, especially your son-in-law who comes in and he's musical as well. That's a special thing for you. That's great.
For sure.
Yeah. Tell me about Scars of Love. First of all, I just think that song is really gorgeous from beginning to end.
Thank you.
Talk a little bit about that song, if you don't mind.
Well, that was also a co-write with my son-in-law, Jérôme Desjay. Jérôme Desjay.
What? That's a sexy name. Good for him. Yeah.
He's a really sexy guy. He's about 9 feet tall and built like a house, and he's a wonderful cat. Again, from my notebook, and I was writing some advice to a friend who was having an extramarital affair,
Mm-hmm.
and I was writing him a letter that I knew I would never send, but still I was writing it because I wanted to get it off my chest because he had a wife and family at home, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a little short story or a novel in the making, and I read some of the stuff I had been writing about it to my son-in-law, and he again just picked up the guitar and found this groove that was in different keys. Parts of it were in different keys, and it was a guitar song, and we recorded it, and it sounded really good. But I wanted to. I thought it would be better as a piano song, and so I enlisted the help of my friend and amazing musician Tom Snow,
Mm-hmm.
come in and play piano and do an arrangement of it, and that's the way it is on the record.
Well, he did a fine job. I mean, that's one of the things that I love about that song is the piano. It touches you really deeply somehow. It's sort of really grabbed me. I just thought, wow, this is really a beautiful piece of music.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was great. The whole record was great, and it came, like I say in the liner notes, it came to us very organically,
Hmm.
and
Where did you record this record, Jonathan?
in right here in Portland, Maine, where
Okay.
I'm sitting this moment.
Oh, wow. Okay. What are you in the studio now? Are you in your studio?
No, this is my home. This is my
Okay.
home studio.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Great. Great. Did you produce this record?
Yes.
Right on. So add that to the list of
Oh
the
yeah.
many things that you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you always produce your stuff, or is this something that you just learned along the way?
I've always had a hand in it, but
Mhm.
as a lot of people know, that it's somewhat easier to work on other people's stuff than it is to work on your own stuff very often.
Yeah.
So I produced records for other people as well, like Cheryl Wheeler. I hold
Uh-huh.
uh, as one of the most brilliant songwriters of our generation, and I was fortunate enough to produce several of her albums.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah, but I've always had a hand in the production. You kind of have to
Mhm.
as you're doing this.
Yeah, yeah. I've been in the, it's depending on who the producer has been. Sometimes I'm a little leery to be like, I don't know if I want to suggest anything to this person, but some people, they're very open, and that's when I feel like I'm most connected and most proud of the record. I think when I have some sort of influence other than my vocal and my harmonica and what songs I might have brought to the table.
Well,
Um,
I can't wait to hear your stuff. I'm a newcomer. I would love
Oh
to.
wow! I'll send you some. I will email you some things actually. Yeah, they'd
Great,
be killer. I think you. We're very socially conscious as well. The name of the band is High South. Um,
nice.
and but yeah, we talk a lot about peace and love and harmony. We're a harmony group,
There you go.
kind of a la uh, the Eagles or Crosby, Stills, Nash sort of a vibe. But
How many vocalists do you have that?
three of us.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and we all play guitar and I play
Band?
harp. I'm sorry.
Is it a three-piece band or?
Three. Well, we're a three-piece group. We have depending on the situation, we have a band behind us, but not always. We seem to be just as effective, and sometimes maybe more when it's just the three of us, with
Oh,
three guitars and the harmonica, of course. Got to keep that in there. And we all trade off leads and singing harmony for one another. It's a great experience. Singing like that is a sort of spiritual. It affects you differently. You create a voice out of three voices, and
Absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of voices, you sound absolutely amazing on this record. And I love great singers, and you're one of them, man. You really have a wonderful instrument, and it seems to have gotten better.
Thank you very much. I take good care of it, and it's my it's my go-to
Hmm.
instrument for sure.
Yeah, right. Um, you mentioned that you take good care of it. How do you take good care of it?
Well, I don't kill it. I sing pretty hard on stage. I sing what I think is as hard as I can without hurting it.
Yeah.
And it's easy to strain, especially when you're 75. It's easy to strain that voice. Um, but I do all the good stuff, no dairy products before I
Hmm.
play and
Yeah.
all that stuff, and keep my body well, as much in shape as I can, and also keep hydrated. That's really important to vocals.
Absolutely. I'm peeing all the time when I'm on the road because I'm just drinking water like incessantly. Do you ever do any vocalizing? Do you like warm up before or after, cool down after the show, or do you do much of that?
I don't do the cool down, but I certainly warm it up before hitting the stage. You bet.
Yeah. Right on. Right on. Well, okay. So, I want to talk a little bit about your acting career. So, I noticed that you've done some Broadway
Yep.
and some movies, and I absolutely love that because you're so broad. I mean, you can really wear a lot of different hats, and that's something that I always aspired to do. Do some acting and be a songwriter and be an instrumentalist and a vocalist, all of those things. So when I didn't know that you had done Broadway and movies, and so when I found that out about you, I was like even more excited. I'm like, oh, this is great. So I want to know how you sort of transcended and how did you get into how did it just fall into your lap? Is that something that you pursued? Something you're still pursuing?
No, I don't. I don't. I'm very busy. Thank you very much. Doing what I'm doing
Yeah.
without, you know, without adding stuff to it. Uh, the acting on Broadway, and it was a Broadway musical called Pump Boys and Dinettes that I was
Yes.
in,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in the touring company with a couple of dear friends, one of whom has since passed away. A lovely young lady named Nicolette Larson,
Hmm. Oh yeah, sure.
and my dear friend who we just talked last night on actually on the phone for an hour and a half, a guy named Henry Gross,
Mm.
who had a hit song in the 70s called Shannon. I don't know if you
Oh yeah, what a great song. That's a great
remember
song.
it. Sure is.
Yes.
And we've been friends, dear friends ever since. Anyway, uh, a friend of mine was in the Broadway production of this musical, and they asked him to go on the road, and he said no, but here's John's number. He'll go with you. So we
Yeah.
rehearsed for months and sent this thing out on the road, and I was with it for about eight months or so.
Okay.
And it was really fun, exhausting, but really fun.
It's a different kind of performing for sure.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. So is it something you just took to, the acting side of it? Or was it something that was just natural for you?
Well, it was in my case because I was only had a speaking part in one thing that I did, and it was a very small part, and it was perfect for me because I was playing a preacher.
Okay.
So preaching is not much different than playing in a coffee house or an auditorium. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, here I am, and here's what I'm going to say, and
Yeah.
So it wasn't a stretch for me. But I was standing next to these amazing classical actors that had, made a lifelong career out of doing what portraying uh, characters on film, and it was a little intimidating.
Hmm.
I felt like they were looking at each other going, and who's this kid? You know, where'd you get this kid? But they loved me and accepted me and thought I did a great job. And I was really thrilled about that.
It's a perfect show for you, actually.
It was.
Yeah.
It
Any
was because I was preaching against I was preaching against the evil of bringing rum into our Puritan New England town. That was my
Yeah.
that was my sermon.
Right. Yeah. I've probably heard some equally strange sermons over the years. So yeah.
That's right.
Oh, ramen. Yeah. That's fantastic. And some movies as well. I mean, and voiceovers. You're using that voice in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I sang commercials for a year or so in the '80s.
Really?
Yeah, I sang, for all kinds of products, and it was that was also instructive and informing to the art of vocalizing. It was hard work and
Hmm.
exacting work.
Right. Right. Sure is. And I think that when you start looking at things, your music as an actor, I think it changes the way you deliver a lyric. Right. And all of a sudden, you're sort of inhabiting the song instead of just delivering the song. You're sort of like you're really telling a story from a deeper place. Did you feel like the acting changed the way you write lyrics or the way you sing them when you're singing them live?
Well, I think both. He really our director, when we were rehearsing for Pump Boys, was constantly yelling at us to sell it. Sell this song.
Yeah.
It may not be Shakespeare, it may not be Gilbert and Sullivan or whatever, but you
Yeah.
still have to sell it, and that's helped. That's
Mhm.
helped my onstage persona and delivery for sure.
Yeah. Well, I love the nuance of your vocal, and I was listening to it pretty intently, and the way you sing phrases, the note choice that you have, which is really really great.
Hmm.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Who are some of the singers that have inspired you?
Wow. Alison Krauss.
How about that one? I mean,
Uh-huh.
she's an angel, right? I
She
mean,
is
truly.
an angel brought to earth for
Yeah.
sure. And Emmylou, of course, but also George Jones and
Hmm.
Ray Charles and
Yeah.
oh god, the list goes on of people who have never tried to copy anything. I just feel their soul from their vocalizations, and what a gift that is. You know, Vocalizing it, as you know, like harp playing, is a very intimate exchange
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
we have with people, with our listeners, with our audiences.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't think you can get any more intimate from an artist point of view than having something come from inside your heart,
Hmm.
through your lungs, through your throat, to
Yeah.
become a meaningful experience for people.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And I've talked about this on the show with various other harp players, how similar harmonica playing is to singing, and how I feel like you can become a better harmonica player by, if you've never been a singer, by starting to sing a little bit and understanding what it all takes to be even a good singer.
Yeah,
You don't even have to be a great singer, but I think it can really inform the way you play harmonica.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I know that you've got this new record out. People can get this at anywhere, any place they ingest music. They can find this record, right? Also, if they would like to buy it, I think they can do it straight from your website, right?
Yes, yes, they can. JonathanEdwards.net. We
Yes.
we stuff envelopes almost every day.
Wonderful. That means records are selling. People are still buying actual hard copies and not just downloading. That's a nice thing, right?
Yes, it is, because I like holding it in my hand as well as and reading it and
Mm-hmm.
getting a feel of what the package is like before you actually listen to it. I think it's important because we're children of the LP.
Hmm. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. When they're starting to sell, actually, they're selling better than any other sort of, you know, format as far as, CDs. I think are just. I mean, we sell them at our shows, but I think people buy them even when they don't have a CD player because they just want this memento. Maybe they'll download the record later, but they have something to hold and to look at. And maybe the artist has signed it, and
Yeah.
yeah. Speaking of getting out into the public, I noticed that you have some dates coming up on the books. Praise the Lord, right? You're about ready to hit the road again. How excited are you about that?
Well, it's a mixed feeling that I have about going back into the public at this particular time. It's not it's not without its risks
Mm-hmm.
for everyone, not just me. I mean, just for everyone that gathered in a room.
Sure.
I mean, as you know, artists are starting to go, well, wait a minute, you can come into my show if you're vaccinated, fully
Right.
vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel that I have to demand that at this point, but it may come to that. And
Right.
so, but I really miss the crowd, the smell of the grease paint, and
The roar of the crowd.
the roar of the grease paint,
Right. Yeah. The smell of
smell
the
of
crowd.
the crowd. I do miss the interaction with the fans, and they inform what we do. Let's face it.
Mm-hmm.
They're very much involved with the decisions we make of what songs to play and how to play them and what to write about. I think it's really an important input into what I do, certainly, and into what many of us do.
I feel like personally, like I get my best performances when I'm in front of an audience, and I often think I wish I could have that audience in the studio with me, because I feel like I never quite achieve what I'm achieving live in the studio. It's very difficult.
Welcome to red light fever.
Yeah, and I've had that. That's a real thing. Hopefully I no longer have that, but I've gone through a period where I thought I forgot how to sing.
That's awful.
It's an awful feeling when that's your soul. That's like what drives you in life, right? And it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very personal thing, as you mentioned before. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it comes from deep places.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me how audiences for you have changed over the years, if at all. Do you notice any sort of, is it a different sort of crowd? Uh, um,
Yeah, I'm real encouraged about seeing a lot of young folks
mm-hmm.
coming in. That were my fans' children,
Yeah,
and now they're adults with children.
yeah,
Because I've been doing this for like 55 years, and so there's been a bit of a turnover, a generational turnover.
yeah.
But I'm encouraged by that, and I try to be relevant to that demographic
Mm-hmm.
as well as hearing playing the hearing the requests from people and playing the songs that got them to be my fans of 18 albums worth or so.
Right, right. That's a prolific career. Kudos to you.
Well, thank you very
Absolutely. So once again, everybody, you can go to Jonathan's Facebook page, Jonathan Edwards. I'm not sure what the link is, but I'll put it in the show notes.
Yep.
And
JonathanEdwards.net. Yeah. Oh, you mean the link to
your
Facebook?
to your social networking? Yeah. I never.
Facebook. We just sort of eliminated. We're going to be eliminating my personal page, Facebook, and we're going to go to musician band page entirely, so
Okay.
that I can focus on one thing.
Exactly. It gets too spread out and convoluted. I understand. And you're still going to be doing your 420 Fridays. Will that continue?
I'm going to endeavor to keep that going. We get more kudos from that and more attention from that every time, every week. So
I absolutely love it. I thought that was super cool. And one of the episodes I watched, you played my favorite Jonathan Edwards song, Shanty. I mean, I can't even tell you, man. Like that sort of gave me some direction with the kind of music that I wanted to play at a certain point in my life, in my 20s. And I was like, I just loved the way sonically that it sounded. I loved the content, of course. But I think most importantly, I just loved that harmonica intro that you played, and I hate to put you on the spot, but if you have a harmonica handy, would you mind playing that for us? Oh yes, all right, fantastic.
That's it.
Oh, that's it, baby. I love it. I love it. All right, I'm going to have to call you for a lesson to pick up the back half of that because when you go up to when you walk down from like hole 6, I'm like, okay, what exactly does he do there? I got to put it on the slow downer or something. But it's
I have
fantastic.
no idea, my brother. I have no idea.
Well, whatever it is, it's fantastic, and it was a great inspiration to me. So thank you so much. It's been a wonderful pleasure to get to know you over the last 45 minutes or so. Thanks for taking time.
My pleasure. Anytime.
All right, my brother. Well, good luck out on the road. Stay safe and healthy. Keep spreading that good, warm vibe that you've got going on this new record. It's a great one, and everyone listening should go check it out right now. And right off the bat, you're going to hear some great harps. So, yeah, it's really good.
Great, terrific.
Yeah. Well, peace and love to you, my friend, and let's do this again sometime.
Zoom me anytime.
I will. We'll catch up with you after you've been on the road a little bit.
Great.
All right.
See what shape I'm in. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to do great. All right. All right, my friend. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Jamie.
Bye-bye.